Hi, welcome back to part 3 of the Roman soldier that we've been carving. I was going to continue to carve, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna be getting bogged down in little details, and that really wasn't what we were trying to achieve. So there he is. So on the side, we just came in a little bit. The only thing I did off camera was just use a gouge to just come up and sort of put some movement into his tunic, which was no more than that really. And on the sides as well, just put in some creases into that tunic. I've just cleaned him up a little bit as well. Just brushed him with a little bit of washing up liquid and a toothbrush just to get off, because I draw on him quite a lot. But that's him. And I just cut in a line around the bottom and kind of drew in some toes and just kind of shaped some pretty basic toes on the fella. Nothing too much. Nothing too drastic. So there he is. So we're now going to do a spot of painting. So how I like to paint is very watered down acrylics. So we will have our tray here. We will take a tray, one well full of water. We will have a red acrylic paint. I use dropper style that I have here, but any acrylic style paint will do us. Trying to find myself a decent brush, or a couple of decent brushes. I will probably come on and off on this go. So what I like to do is put a little drop of red on the side. If you've seen me do this before, you'll be familiar with it. I then like to touch the brush just lightly into the red and then mix it into the water. And that is all I like, a very minimal amount in the red. I do it like this because I like the skin tone it gives me. So I just brush that in and give it several coats if need be. Sometimes it takes on quite a red look straight away. Sometimes it requires a coat or two. Sometimes it requires me to put another dot in that water. The red I like when it sits in the creases. And I could do it several times on the noses. Sometimes on other parts of the body. I like to put like a fleshy colour over the top just to add a second tone. The skin is never like one tone. The red will sit nicely in the creases, but on the tops here I might like to put like a fleshy colour in. Just trying to make sure that goes all over, several coats there. Then we've got his hands. I could have played around with the hands for some time trying to round them off, but this is a small little whittle and we just want it to look visually good. So we got his bare arms. And then what we'll probably do is paint it a little bit thicker for the rest of his, so we'll have a mix of styles here. And we'll have quite a lot of different shadings of red. So we need to make sure that we don't keep the same shade of red all over. Okay. We got his toes down here. Again, we didn't really need to do toes, kind of made that complicated for the sake of it, really. Could have just put some shoes on him. But there you go, we've done it. There we go. This shield was going to be wooden, so we can go do a brown round here. We'll wait for this to dry off a little bit, which is why I'll coat it a couple of times and not worry too much about it running into the neighbouring wood, because this will be the lighter colour anyway. So a couple of these will be good. Okay. And then we will look at a silver. Now silver, a little bit like white, will not require much watering down at all. Maybe just a very small amount to make it easier to work with. And the silver we're going to put on the helmet. Just move my tray so it's easier to see. So we will do the helmet in the silver. Once this dries, we will go over in like a very, very, very watered down black. And what that will do is that will just sit in the creases, as well as tone down the silver in general, and give it more of a metal-y look, I guess. Okay, I need a bit more of that. If you water down the silver too much, you could find that you've got to keep giving it coats, because it won't look right. So we tend not to water that down too much, but I do add some water just to make it more user friendly, if you like. Just going to go under the hat. Probably going to need a slightly smaller brush to get in to some of these areas, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. So if we've learnt anything off of this proper chap, it's that to never really give up on your whittles, because I very nearly tossed this one to one side. But I thought, starting a video now, let's keep it real. Let's see what we can do with something that's not going to plan. And I think, depending on how this painting goes, we may have just about rescued him, I reckon. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. He may just about have a place next to Kratos, the Milkman, and Batman, but we will have to see about that. We will have to see about that. Ironic, considering I planned him more than I usually do. Usually I sit down and have an idea of whittling up a character. I will get the face done, kind of prep the body, and not really know exactly where I'm going with it at that stage. I may not even decide on the character until I'm nearly halfway through. I tend to paint directly onto the wood and then like to wax afterwards. I just like the way that finishes, really, to be honest with you. I've used boiled linseed oil in the past, got no real issue with using it. I just tend to like the way the wax finishes it. Sometimes a particular figure and the way it's done will look better antiqued. This guy might lead himself towards that. I'm not sure yet. We will see. Some you just think to yourself, yeah, he needs darkening up. Antiquing would work well here. I think this guy may be leading us down that path. I'm not sure yet. So also we're going to have the silver on the center of the shield. The iron stud in the middle of the shield. That will darken up as well. Could do it down the sides, but I think these should be darker wood. We also have plates on his shoulders that we carved in. Like I say, we will purposely go back in and darken this up. But for now, this will be the first coat we will have on this. Might need another coat on that, some of this silver. There we go. We will now look at brown. So I've got a brown in a tube. We will pop this one in there. We will do the same thing as we did with silver. We'll just take a little bit of. I'll drop it in directly. Okay. We're going to go on the outside of that shield, because the shield's going to be made of wood. So this is the outside part of that shield. Again, some colours take the watering down well, and you want them thin, some not so much. Brown's always a tricky one. How thick do we want it? How dark did we want it? I think I've probably gone a little under on that. So rather than going too far, let's just put another bit on there. Okay, let's go the other side.
Brave young soldiers and innocent civilians have been cut down. Tanks are rumbling through towns and cities, missiles raining indiscriminately from the skies. It's a generation or more since we witnessed such bloodshed.
Still don't think I've probably gone dark enough there. I think I might just keep this out of the water, make a new one up here. I think it just required a darker colour, really. Let's do the back as well. Okay.
Like Ukraine, Russia is a great country, the richest, the proud people. Like Ukraine, Russia's poets and artists.
Okay, I think we're getting there.
Russia's soldiers fought so bravely with us in the struggle against fascism.
Other side here. Just get the back done. Then I think I'll probably let them dry a little bit, and then come back, because we don't want to mess up too much of it. Maybe a little bit on base of his sandals, maybe. Just conscious that we don't run the colours into one another. Which is why I like to just leave them to fully dry, but it does create a little bit of a stop-starty situation on some of the videos. But it would be nice if I could do the video all in one go, I suppose, or at least two. So maybe I will continue. And although I haven't gone too detaily on the toes, that should make them pop a little bit. Having that contrasting colour. Okay, the silver is obviously too bright at the moment. But that's good, that's fine. Gotta let it dry out before we play around with that. The red we're going to do on the tunic is going to be a darker red. It's going to be a burgundy colour, really. Let's see if we have a burgundy colour in amongst my pet collection. What have we got here? Maybe not. Should be better organised, Ben. Should be better organised. Where's my lovely red gone? Okay, I might have to go searching for me colours, because I would like a deeper red. Too many of the same shade of red is going to look a bit odd. I've got bright reds, I've got pinky reds. I don't really have to hand a burgundy style red. I could mix one up, I guess. Should we give that a go? Should we give that a go? Let's give that a go. It's gonna go the red, drop to water. We're gonna go with a real light touch. Let's mix that in. Mix it a little bit more. Trying to keep it red, not blue, would be handy. I think we've probably got a decent enough colour there. And this is where we're going to go. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that needs to be Slightly more red. Now I put it on the wood, I'm starting to think that might be a bit purpley maybe. Yeah, possibly. Bit purpley in the shadow. Sorry, that camera is so close to my front of my face, I keep headbutting it. Just really, really hard work when you're carving. I may go over this again with a slight touch of red because it's come out a bit purpley. So I may, I don't know. I wanted it to be a different colour because we want to put red on the shield. So we don't want too many bright reds. And they did wear a purpley red. So I think this colour might be okay, but we'll see once it dries. See once it dries. Can already see on that arm that it's going to need a little bit more. Definitely going to need a little bit more of a pink wash on that.
I must refute the allegations that we have refused to negotiate. Ukraine has been and remains ready to talk about a ceasefire and peace.
Okay.
We agreed to the proposal of the President of the Russian television. During these hours, parties consult on the place and time of the negotiation process. The sooner negotiations begin, the better the chances of resuming
Don't know what that colour is looking like on camera, but I quite like it. Bit of a purpley red, but I think that would be a nice contrast to the red that we'll end up having on the shield. When you treat the wood with a boiled linseed oil beforehand, it does kind of seal the wood nicely so that you don't get any paint running, which of course is handy. When you don't, and you paint on the bare wood like I'm doing now, then you do have a tendency for the paint to run, so it's a little harder to control. But I do like the fact that you keep the colour this way, whereas I find when you use an oil it does change the colour somewhat, from my experience anyway. So we're just now doing the tunic at the bottom, which I believe I probably called a skirt a few times, and probably people are rolling their eyes at that. It's a tunic. If we'd gone in a lighter red, we could have gone over with a black wash into the creases and into those ruffles to create another dimension. But listen, it's quite a small whittle and we don't want to spend half our life doing a small whittle. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. What we will definitely do is give him another lick of the the red. That's for sure.
Cutting that long-standing partnership will no doubt send a strong message across the sporting world. And this weekend, players, fans and clubs up and down England will be free to protest against the invasion of Ukraine. It's one Peter with over 15,000 fans of football.
Okay, I like that. I like that purple. I like that purple. I think that looks good. I think that looks good. We will do his trousery tights in like a grey, I think. Like a stone grey. Okay. There he is. Let's just clean our brush and let's have a look at maybe doing another slight red is off. That deep red is off. Let's go back to the wash, maybe a touch more in that wash. Start on the arm just in case it's too much. So. Getting that red right is tricky. I think last time when we were doing Kratos, I thought it was a little bit too dark, and that was only a spot, and we only went over it once, and I kept looking at it thinking, I think that was probably too heavy. With this guy, it feels like we've done the same spot into the water, and yet it's not heavy enough. So that's interesting. So it does take some playing around with. So what we will do is we will leave this to dry. I will come back to do some add-on bits. Yeah, we'll leave them to dry. I may do the eyes offline because the eyes I find, because the camera's where it is, I find the eyes a little bit, I find the eyes hard work to do because I need to bring them close, and then I don't know whether in camera shot or not in camera shot. It's only a case of putting white on this particular brush. I don't water the white down and just rolling them on the eyeballs. So I'll probably do that offline, but that's where we are with him. That's where we are with him at the moment. We'll paint his tights in a grey. Yeah, that's our little Roman soldier at the moment. Okay. I'm going to let him dry. I'm probably going to tie the two videos into one when we come back, but he's going to dry for a bit and then I'll come back. Hello and welcome back. We are painting our little Roman soldier and we're going to go for the shield now. Last time we painted the silver of his hat and his armory, and his silver in the shield, and then we're going to do a bit of red on the shield, done the wood around the side. Got a nice wooden shield. My brush looks a complete mess, so I'm not very well prepared here. So we are going to go with a red. We're talking about getting them all. We were talking about getting lots of different tones of red, so we don't get stuck with like red everywhere. So we went with like a purpley effect on our soldier. And then we're going to go for a bright red. Bright red on his shield. So we're going to get that on the inside. If you remember from our previous videos, we just etched in a little bit of the emblem where we were going to touch in some yellow, like lightning or flashes or whatever that design was. So we will do that once this is dry. Painting this on heavier than I would normally do because we want that to be quite a vibrant, bright red. Otherwise, if we water it down, we will be going over it several times. So the shield should pop out quite nicely once we've got that yellow flashing on it. And then we said in the last one, what we're going to do, we could do two ways really. We could antique it, which I think would look quite good because we've got quite a lot of crevices in here, and we could do with just dyeing down some of this, like the red in different places. Or we could antique, or what I probably will do is antique it in my own way, which won't include boiled linseed oil or burnt umber or sienna, but will just be an incredibly watered down black solution where I can just wipe that on and off as I please, and that has a really good effect on the silvers. So I might just do that here on this episode so you can see what I mean. Obviously this won't be dry, so I won't be doing it on the shield. Really need to update my paintbrushes. I think this one's been standing up in a pot of paint. It's sprayed itself out. Okay, so this is a nice bright shield. Should I turn a bit? There's a bit better light. Okay, so what we will do is I will get a small piece of black and just squirt it on the side. Probably way small paint that I use by doing exactly what I just did, and then we will get a dollop of white, a drop of water on the other side, and then we will get our bigger brush and very small tap of that one into the water. Mix it around, and then just test it on the back. Okay, so that's quite watered down. We might be happy with that. Probably would be happier that on this darker purple, I suppose. We are, so we're going to go in, and then this will just make the creases pop a little bit. Not sure if that's coming out very well on the camera, but that would just fill in some of the colouring. See that on the arm? Just dye down some of the brightness. Probably going to need it quite a bit thicker as we get onto that shield, onto that helmet. So we just paint that on the back of the shield as well. I think this is probably watered down just a touch too much, but it is enough for me to be able to just wipe over on flesh parts. So I'm going to do that a little bit earlier than I would have done, simply because I'm going to need to darken that up for the silver parts. So let's just get some of that on there. Like so. Get some of that over his toes. Muddy it up a bit. Could just get, while it's still watered down, just on the inside of his shield there. Just go very, very careful around that white. This will just give it a little bit of a separation where maybe the silver paint didn't go far enough in, or the pink hasn't gone completely to the edges. This will just get soaked in there and create some shadow, which is what we want, but at the same time we just need to go a little bit easy because we don't want that wood, because I haven't got a oil finish on it, it will soak it up. So we don't want to get to the stage where it's soaked it up and it go into the eyes. So I'm gonna go careful, which is why I definitely don't want to be doing this with a thicker solution. Okay, you can probably just about see that, where that's just drawn it in to the face. I'm going to go take another dollop and thicken this up. And this is where we are going to get that metally look that silver alone doesn't quite do. It'll give a bit of definition to the helmet. Go quite a bit thicker on this by the looks of it. Wait for that to sit in a little bit and then just go back over and wipe some of it off, and it will take away that bright silvery look. Just give it more of a metally or a used metal look. And we're going to try and get in on the shoulder pads as well. If we can get that to sit in the creases, it will just separate them so it's easier to see. Not sure the camera's picking it up brilliantly, but it certainly makes a difference when you see it, when you're doing it. See how that wells up, just sits in there. Definitely need it thicker on the silver than you will anywhere else. You won't want to paint your fingers, the fleshy parts now that I've thickened that up, because it's going to change the colour of that pink altogether. Whereas on this silver, it's just going to sit on it at this moment in time until it sinks in. Give it a little bit of a dirtier look on the back. Hopefully that will just sit in the creases of the tunic. Back of the shield. Give it a worn down look. Again, on the front of that shield, just give it a little bit of a brush just to give it that more authentic woody look. We're almost dry on the front now, so I'm not going to worry too much. Now if we can get this to just drop in that gap that we carved in, it will just give it that, just make it pop that little bit. See, we've got some real definition from that shield there. And then if we just brush over this middle part, the black will sit in where the red and the silver, if it didn't touch, I think it was all right, I think it did, but if it didn't, it would sit in there. And it's just to take away that brightness and make it look a little bit more, make it look a little bit more real. That dish out of the way. It's looking pretty good now. I'll put a couple of pupils on. Again, I need to do that right up close, which then takes it away from the camera, so I'll do that offline. What I might do is I have a slightly darker flesh colour, which is here. I think they call it a terracotta. Or we could go for a slightly darker phase of the red. But if I use that very sparingly, just on his lower lip, we just pull that lower lip out a little bit for his definition. we go. We could give him slightly, sorry, not the camera on my face. Could just touch his nose up a little bit and make it a little bit more pinker with the red again. Just see the wood coming through on the colour of that. Could go really red on this if you wanted to, like you do see on some of the gnomes and Santa Clauses and stuff, but I've already got quite a lot of shade of red in here already, so I'm thinking we won't. But he has got a nice bulbous nose, hasn't he? In fact, that's making that nose pop a little bit more, that is, so that's probably a good thing. Get that right in there. Yeah, that looks all right, doesn't it? The nose and the lip then just pop off the face a touch. Could probably do that. Cross the fingers a little bit. Again. Because it's so watered down, you can come back and do this a few times. You may want to just try a little bit with the terracotta colour. Just so we've got several tones in there. Mix that in a little bit. We could do that with the toes if we're going to do it with the fingers. Quite good. Okay, so he's looking pretty good now. So I will put his pupils in. I may just see now that black sat in the visor now. And you can see it here too. On the other side, may need a little bit more of that. May need a little bit more of that. As it dries. Just to give it that metallic-y look rather than the silvery look. Right, there he is, and I've just had my call to say that we're off out. England are playing Wales on the rugby, so I'm going to go and watch some of that. I will dot the I's while I'm off screen, and then I'll come back on and we'll just double check him where we are with him. Oh, I've got to do his leggings, so I'll probably do them offline, because all I'm going to do is paint them grey. And then we'll look at finishing with a blue wax. I'll see you in a bit.